At first blush, this shouldn't be a close battle, considering the 2022 Ford Mustang powered by the latest 5.0-litre V8 is going to bat against the Nissan Z's 3.0-litre twin-turbo V6. Technology and materials have transformed both of these cars, making the competition between them closer than you might expect. Let's closely examine their specs and test results to see how the two sports cars stack up, with plenty of surprises along the way. Ever since the Z33 generation, the Z car has been powered by a naturally aspirated VQ series V6. Now the RZ34, because this is an evolution of the Z34 chassis, also has a V6, but it's going back to its boosted roots with the 400 horsepower, 350 pounds-feet of torque VR32 that displaces 3.0 litres. While displacement is down, the new Z engine gains 2 turbos and 68 horsepower over the non-NISMO 370Z and around 50 horsepower over the NISMO version. The 2022 Mustang, on the other hand, has 3 different engines. The base engine is the EcoBoost 2.3-litre turbo i4, making 310 horsepower and 350 pounds-feet of torque. The next step is the GT with its 5.0-litre Coyote V8 producing 460 horsepower and 420 pounds-feet of torque. Finally, there's a massive step up in power from the Shelby GT500, with its Predator 5.2 litres supercharged V8. For the sake of this comparison, we're going to stick with the GT and its 5.0-litre V8, as the Mustang GT and the Nissan Z are both around the $40,000 mark. The Mustang should have the advantage in the power department with its 460 horsepower and 420 pounds-feet of torque, besting the 400 horsepower and 350 pounds-feet of torque of the Nissan Z. But this is a sports car comparison, not just a drag race, and there is more to this story than raw power. Since 2018, the Mustang GT comes from the factory with an updated version of the Getrag MT82 6-speed manual transmission, the MT82D4. This allowed Ford to up the power of the 5.0-litre V8 from the 2017's 435 horsepower and 400 pounds-feet of torque to its current 460 horsepower and 420 pounds-feet of torque. Optionally, if you're not into rowing your own gears, you can get Ford's 10R80 10-speed automatic transmission, which comes with a set of paddle shifters to bump your own gears without removing your hands from the steering wheel. For its final drive ratio, you get the choice of a 3.31-to-1 with the standard 10-speed auto, 3.55-to-1 with the manual 6-speed, or 3.73-to-1 with the Performance Package GT in either automatic or manual. The 2023 Z returns with its FS6R31A 6-speed manual that's been in use since the Z33 but updated for the new VR30 DDTT. The Jatco automatic transmission has changed to the 9-speed JR913E and is capable of being shifted manually with a set of paddles behind the steering wheel, just like the Mustang GT. Unlike the Mustang, the Z rear gear ratio doesn't change between the manual and automatic, but instead changes between the Sport and Performance trims. The Sport trim comes with a 3.538-to-1 while the Performance comes in with a 3.133-to-1 ratio. When it comes to acceleration, the combined first gear of each manual and ring gear ratios gives the Z Sport trim a 7.333-to-1 ratio, while the Mustang GT Performance Pack gets a 6.967-to-1 ratio. This is reflected in the Z's 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 4.3 seconds against the 4.4 seconds the V8 GT took to get to the same speed despite having a higher torque rating. In the quarter mile, the Z ran a 13.7-second time at 107.6 miles per hour under our testing, while the Mustang's power finally shines through with its 12.6-second run at 113.5 miles per hour. In looking at our testing notes between each car, you can see that the Z quickly begins to run out of steam past 60 miles per hour. By 100 miles per hour, it's 1 second behind the Mustang and just a bit more than a second by the end of the quarter mile. At the same time, however, we can't ignore the automatic version of either car. Here, having a 1 extra gear means that the Mustang GT's V8 can stay in its power band much better than the 9-speed Z. While we don't have a test figure for the automatic Z, the 0-60 of the automatic Z is theoretically a half-second slower than the 10-speed automatic Ford Mustang GT with its 3.9 second as tested 0-60 sprint. We won't theorize the quarter-mile time for the Auto Z, but the Mustang GT was capable of a 12.1 at 118.8 miles per hour, a half-second and 3.7 miles per hour faster than the manual Mustang, and it really shows that 10 can be greater than 6, at least when it comes to straight-line speed and dead-stop acceleration. The Mustang GT's 460 horsepower V8 needs to push around 3,705 pounds. Giving it a weight-to-power ratio of 8.05 pounds per horsepower. The Z, on the other hand, weighs in at 3,486 pounds, 219 pounds less than the Mustang, and with 400 horsepower on tap, so its weight-to-power ratio is 8.715 to 1. This means, despite weighing less than the GT, the Z has an inferior weight-to-power ratio, and it relies on its mechanical advantage of that 7.333 total first gear ratio to get it rolling faster than the Mustang from a dead stop. Once rolling, however, the Mustang's better weight-to-power ratio starts to give it an advantage once it crosses the quarter-mile point. Where that weight does start to play a huge factor is handling. For our comparison, we'll look at the lateral acceleration, the skid pad, our figure-8 test, in both time and average g-forces, and the distance each vehicle takes to get stopped from 60 miles per hour. The surprise winner here is the Mustang GT Performance Pack Manual. Despite its heft, it pulled a better skid pad number and was also able to pull a better figure-8 time and average g-force. Driving in a steady circle, the Mustang GT Performance Pack pulls a 1.06 grams figure while the Z in Performance Trim manages a 0.96 grams. Going into our figure-8 course, the Mustang GT Performance Pack completed it with a time of 23.6 seconds with a 0.86 grams average. The Z is slower and its lower skid pad number also shows here, finishing the figure-8 in 25 seconds with a 0.75 grams average. Even the non-performance pack, 1.00 grams skid pad and a figure-8 of 24 seconds with a 0.83 grams average, and the automatic Mustang GT, 0.97 grams skid pad figure and a figure-8 of 23.9 seconds with a 0.84 grams average, outperform the Z Performance. Even more shocking is the distance each vehicle took to stop. Starting at 60 miles per hour, the shortest distance was 94 feet and performed by the Mustang GT Performance Pack. Tied for the second best are the normal GT and the automatic versions at 104 feet, then comes the Nissan Z Performance at 111 feet. The Mustang also takes the sprint to 100 miles per hour and back down to 0 miles per hour handily. The quickest 0-100 time goes to the Mustang GT Automatic at 12.7 seconds, followed by the GT Performance Pack in 13.3 and the regular GT at 13.6. The Nissan Z Performance, slower both to 100 miles per hour and taking longer to brake to 0 miles per hour, took a full 15 seconds. Given the Z's weight advantage of far between 266 pounds to 232 pounds lighter than each variant of the Mustang GT, you wouldn't necessarily predict this on paper. Unfortunately for Z car fans, testing doesn't lie and the winner here is clearly the Mustang GT, rowing your own gears or not.